Hi, I've received some questions on rendering, so I wanted to do a quick little video. Obviously you'll have your walk cycles, but I just did this random ball movement. Now, one thing that you want to be aware of is turning on your resolution gate. This helps to show exactly what your camera is going to see, and currently my camera is set up to be 960 by 540. So we can look at our render settings. Okay. You can use Arnold or Maya software, whatever is easier. I'm not, worried about textures and stuff like that. I know some of you have talked about the textures on the rigs. If you'd like to go over that, let me know. But basically, you can right mouse click and hold, assign new material, and a Lambert is what's going to be matte, and a blend is what's shiny. So if you find that the rig is too shiny for you, you can just put a Lambert on it. The texture is always going to be the furthest over tab, and you can change the color or brightness of that color. Okay, I have to change a preference in my color setting, but it will work either way. And if you don't want to change it, you don't have to. So in our render settings, we'll go through it all in a second, but if I scroll down, you can see it's preset to 540. We don't want that. I would recommend at least 1280 by 720 to get an HD. This is full, we want HD. 1280 by 720. You can do 1920 by 1080. That's going to be more of your standard HD, but it does take a little bit longer to render. You can turn your resolution up to 300, and this will be a nice high quality render. And again, that being said, it's going to take longer to render. So if you ever need something to move a little bit faster, you'll want to turn that down. I'm actually going to use Maya software to keep it a little bit more simplified for you guys. I'm going to call it ball bounce. You can give it whatever title you want. Image format here. Now you can save to a QuickTime, or you can save to a still file. So a lot of times what I do is I do Targa files or TIFF. You'll find what kind of works best for you, but if I do Targa, you want to make sure it's name.number.extension. So for each frame it renders, it's going to be ballbounce.1.targa or TGA. Frame padding is just the number of zeros that it uses. Start frame 1, end frame I have 62. We want to render by frame 1. Make sure your camera is set up to be the same one that you were looking in, my perspective view. And I have this set up from before. Okay, so then we can close this, make sure my animation is what I want it to be, and then we just want to go down to rendering, render, and then batch render. You'll see down here it's rendering with Maya software, and then it'll tell you where it's saving it. Okay, so now you can see it's going through rather quickly. My animation is very simple, so it won't take very long. You'll see that yours will probably take a little bit longer, but just because it's one rig, it won't take too long. Okay, and then it's complete. You can click on this button here to bring up the window, and you can see where mine is saved. Okay, so you can go through that to find it. Now what I'm going to use is After Effects to bring all these together. If you do not have After Effects, you can always just render straight to a video file instead of the still files. One downfall to that, which at this point in your career isn't too important, but if I'm rendering 62 frames, and let's say each frame is taking an hour to render, which, I mean, that's very normal as you get to intense projects, but if I'm rendering still frames, if I get to frame 61 and something happens and my file becomes corrupt or the render stops, I still have those 60 files rendered and good to go. If I'm rendering directly to a movie file and I get to 61 and it freezes or becomes corrupt, my entire video is corrupt, and so I've lost it all. Alright, So in After Effects, I can go create new composition. We want to match whatever you did in Maya, so 1920 by 1080. I can call this ball bounce or whatever again that you're dealing with. All of this needs to just match. So dealing in 24 frames per second. Duration, this is milliseconds, seconds, minutes, hours. So don't get confused, milliseconds comes first. So I only did 62 frames, so we're only talking a few seconds of animation. I'm just going to do 4 so we can see the extra. And then you can hit OK. Sets this up for you. You can right mouse click and go to Import File. And then you need to navigate to your images. Now, you can see all of my 63 files are here. All you're going to want to do is grab your first one. Make sure you're turned on sequence, whatever files, if these were JPEGs, it would say JPEG sequence. And you can hit Open. And then you can hit OK. And then you can see it's up here. I'll click and drag that down. You can hit spacebar to preview. Okay, so good to go. I can check here. Mine ends at around 2:01, so I'll go to Composition, Composition Settings, and I'll set up my composition to be the size of my animation. I know mine carries over a little bit more, but for the sake of this, that's okay. You can always use Command plus and minus to zoom in and out if you want to see here. I know I'm going through this rather quickly, so feel free to ask questions if you have any. But then we're going to go to Composition, Add to Adobe Media Encoder Queue. Now this is going to take a little bit to load. You have to be patient and give it some time. Sometimes I like to close out of Maya while I'm doing this just so it isn't so taxing on my computer. What will happen is it will open over here and it'll add it to the queue immediately. I'm going to just pause my video and then we'll come back when this is open. Literally the second I stopped it, this popped up. But this is what you'll get. So ball bounce. These are your different options. I know it says MPEG 4 video, so you can do that one. I will also accept H.264. So either way, you can leave the preset the same, and then you'll just click on the blue here, and that's where you can give it a title and tell it where to save. So I just want it on my desktop, save, and then you'll just hit this play button. You'll see down here it'll preview through everything once it gets started, and then it'll tell you it's complete. Okay, so done. And then if we navigate to the desktop, my video is right here and good to go. So it may look a little bit dark. I wouldn't be concerned about it at this point. It's mainly because there's no background that's saved in Maya, nor is there a background that's saved from After Effects. The background color that's there in your composition isn't a renderable quality. You could insert a rectangle and change the color if you would like to do that. But again, we'll talk about lighting and stuff as we move forward, so I wouldn't worry about that for now. Okay, so I hope this helps, and let me know if you have any questions.